Hi everyone, and welcome to our May monthly meeting with Camcycle. I'm Roxanne, I'm the Executive Director of Camcycle, joined by my colleague Anna Williams, our Communications and Community Officer, and Josh Grantham, our Infrastructure Campaigner, here for his second monthly meeting, which means you've officially been in the job for a month now, Josh. I hope you're coping all right. And of course, our wonderful guest speaker, who I know we've had many requests we've been looking forward to for a long time, Filip Watteeuw. I hope I've said that right, but I probably haven't, even though I have an almost Belgian surname myself.
You have to practice. You have to practice a bit. Yeah.
I do. Watteeuw. Excellent. I should be better.
Already better. Yeah.
Good. There's hope for me yet. And Filip is the Deputy Mayor of Ghent, which I also can't say very well. And we're so excited to have you here to talk about the amazing changes that have been made in your city to reduce traffic, bring in a traffic circulation plan, and make it what we're assuming is going to be a thriving and wonderful place for sustainable travel, but also for local businesses and the community to thrive. But I don't want to talk about it. I'd like you to talk about it. So okay. Please take over, please share your screen and tell us all about the amazing things that have been happening just over there. And that I'm sure we could learn from for Cambridge.
Okay. I will tell the story about what Ghent has done in the last 5 years in the domain of mobility and how we improved quality of life through mobility. And for those who think that it will be a very complex story, difficult story, well, no, it ain't. It is not complex. It's what we have done is very simple. But first, let's go back to the 80s, the 90s. I think our city was a city like many other cities, with lots of cars, with unsafety for pedestrians, unsafety for cyclists, much noise, a poor air quality. Yeah, just like many other cities, and still many cities are like that nowadays. So that was what we were. So, but I came in office in 2013 as a deputy mayor, and what we tried to do, what we wanted to do in Ghent. My party was for the first time in the coalition. I'm a member of the Green Party. And what we try to do is to increase livability, safety, accessibility. So, but that's something that I think almost every politician wants to do. So it's not exceptional. But we at first in 2013, 2014, I was thinking, how can I increase that livability? How can I better the quality of life in Ghent? And I visited some cities, you know, also Copenhagen, Utrecht, Amsterdam, Münster in Germany, and I tried to get inspired by those cities. And what I saw in Copenhagen and Amsterdam and Utrecht, yeah, that was amazing, just amazing, because they had such a good infrastructure. The quality level was so high that it was almost paralyzing me. I wanted to have the same infrastructure and as many cyclists and pedestrians as Utrecht and Copenhagen. And so when I looked at that infrastructure, why was it paralyzing? Because I thought, I don't have the budget to do such things. I didn't have the time to do such things. A term in Belgium, in Flanders, is 6 years. I was I started in 2013, and I knew I had just till the end of 2018. But that was not enough to realize the infrastructure that I saw in Copenhagen and Utrecht. And I didn't have the budget. So we thought about another manner to have the same results. And so what we did was we implemented the circulation plan. It was a shortcut to sustainable mobility. It was a shortcut to quality of life. And as you will see, there were some results. But first, this photo, this picture is very important. What you see is the area in between the ring road we have. Our ring road has a circumference of about 14 kilometers. The diameter of that area is about 3.5 kilometers, something like that. There are living in that area about 120,000 people, 120,000 people. In total, Ghent has a population of 265,000 inhabitants. So this is the area where we worked with the circulation plan, the center. And what we saw before we started to with our work at the circulation plan, with the preparation for the circulation plan, was that we had much through traffic. Only about 50%, 51% of the traffic, car traffic in the center of Ghent was destination traffic. Car traffic that had to be there. All the rest was pure transit traffic. Car drivers that drove just through the city without stop, without a destination, 11%. 28% was semi-transit traffic, car traffic that avoided parts of the city ring road, of the Beltway, and then 9% was internal traffic. That is also destination traffic, but traffic that shouldn't be done by car. For example, if you go to a shop 200 meters further and you use a car, that's not necessary. So you can say 51% of car traffic was what you can say necessary. Yeah. So we had too much motorized traffic in the city center. And if the idea was, if we can get rid of the through traffic, yeah, then it will be more quiet. We will have more space, and space that is important for pedestrians and cyclists. So, and that's what we did. Not complex, a very simple plan, fast and cheap and with impact. We have in that area that I showed you, there's the area that is in the ring road, that we have in the center of that, we have a car restricted zone. What you see in purple is the car restricted zone, and there cars are not allowed except if they have a permit. So there in that area there are not so much cars. Around the purple area, around the center area, the car restricted zone, we have 6 zones. You see the different colors, and the zones are very important. But they are not important for pedestrians, for cyclists, for public transport, for taxis, because with that zones, nothing changed for pedestrians, cyclists, and so on. Only for car drivers, a lot changed, because if you are a car driver and you wanted to go from, for example, the red zone left on top to the blue zone at the left in the middle, a car driver can't do it anymore with the car straight between the zones, but has to use the ring road. Every time you want to go from one zone to another, you have to use the ring road. No through traffic anymore. No more going through traffic in the city. So that's it. That's what we have done. It's very simple, and we did it very fast. We did it. We had the preparation time of 2.5 years. The first sketch of the circulation plan was in October 2014. We prepared it in a period of 2.5 years, and we implemented it in April 2017, the 3rd of April 2017. The preparation was 2.5 years, but in the street we changed everything in 1 weekend. So we worked with blocks, bollards, paint. We worked with signs, with plants and benches. We worked with cameras and so on. But in fact, the Friday before the circulation plan should be implemented, everything was normal as it was at that moment. And the Monday, the circulation plan started with the 6 zones and the car restricted area. So it's a simple plan. It's a fast plan, and it's also a cheap plan. A cheap plan. It costed about 5 million euros. That's not a lot. If you saw the cycling bridge in the back of my camera, that costs us also 4 or 5 million. A normal cycling bridge costs about 3 or 4 million euro. The circulation plan in total costed about 5 million euro. So it was cheap. But so I said, fast, cheap, simple, but with impact. What were the results? The results were that we had an increased number of cyclists. In 2012, just before I got deputy mayor, we had a share of cyclists in the modal split. We had about 22% of all trips that were done by cycling. So the share of cyclists, 22%. After the circulation plan in 2018, the share had increased to 35%. So we came from 22%, and that's if you look in Europe, that is rather good. But there was a strong increase to 35%. It means that we had an increase of about 60% of cyclists. We had an increased number of public transport users. The increase of public transport users was about, after the circulation plan, an increase of about 12%. That's exceptional in Flanders, because in Flanders everywhere we see a decrease of public transport users, but not in Ghent. In Ghent there was an increase. Those two facts, an increased number of cyclists and an increased number of public transport users, that's very important, because the moment I started with the circulation plan, with the preparation of the circulation plan, the opponents always said, oh, first you should better the alternatives. And the moment the alternatives are better, then you can start with your circulation plan. But in fact, that's not wholly true, because if you implement the circulation plan, and so if you make space for public transport for cyclists, the alternatives get better automatically. So it's not like better the alternatives and then implement a circulation plan. No, it's implement a circulation plan and the alternatives got better. It also means that there's another important conclusion out of that. If you want to better the situation for pedestrians, for cyclists, for public transport, you have to do something about the position of the car. You have to make choices about the dominance of the car, the position of the car. The best bike plan is a car plan. If you dare to do something about the position of the car, you will do something for cyclists. So that's very important. What we also see is that, and that's a strange one, is a decreased travel time for cars in the city center. And that's normal, because in the city center, there are no traffic jams anymore. Cars can get, except for the car restricted zone, cars can get everywhere. They have to use the ring road, but they can get everywhere. But what we see is that so many people made a shift to cycling and to walking and public transport that there are no traffic jams anymore. There's less transit traffic, and then two things I'm very proud of is there are also less accidents. We saw that after the circulation plan, we had a decrease of 35% in accidents. We have also a decrease of NOx, so we have an improved air quality. So we have serious results. What we see is that this is our model split 2012-2018, and as you see, there was from cycling 22% to 35%. I already mentioned it. That a strange one was that we saw that walking got from 14% to 13%. So we had a little decrease, but I think this means that many people who walked because they didn't dare to cycle, just at the moment that the circulation plan was implemented, they shifted to cycling because at that moment, because there were so fewer cars, because it was safer, they shifted to cycling. And as you see, also an increase of public transport users. The model split you see from 2030 is that was our objective. We said in 2030 we want to have 35%, a share of 35% of cycling in the model split, and we reached it already in 2018. The other things, not everything is already as we should like. The objective of public transport, we are for the moment at 17%. Now in 2022, it has to be better, but this is our objective: 27% of a share of 27% for cars. Okay, this is the model split, and then the latest number, and then I will tell you something about the process of of how we came to the circulation plan. These are the latest numbers because we had a recent survey about how people looked to what happened after the circulation plan, and the first fact, the first finding is something that is very important for me. The journeys done by young people and children within the ring road, the R40, that's the ring road, the Beltway. That's amazing. it's fantastic. 50% of the journeys is done by bicycle and 20% on feet. So that means that already 70% of all the journeys by young people and children are done by foot or by bicycle. The car ownership is decreasing. In 2015, before the circulation plan, 1.2 per family. Every family had 1.2 cars average. And then 2018, after circulation 1.1, and then 1.0 in 2021. And then also, this is important, 71% of the residents in the inner city say it's more pleasant to live in the city due to car-free areas. And still, the city center is easy accessible, or the neighborhoods are easy accessible. Okay, maybe first about the process between the first sketch of the circulation plan and the implementation of the circulation plan. Our first sketch of the circulation plan was, as I already mentioned, was October 2014. At that moment, the debate began. In the period between October 2014 and April 2017, I was almost no evening at home, because every evening I was somewhere to debate, about the circulation plan, to inform people, to talk to people every evening, and it was a very rough debate. Because many people were so used to their car, to use their car, to have their car, that it was rather emotional. It was very emotional at some times, and it was a difficult period for me at some times. I had death threats also. I had 6 weeks of police surveillance, so it wasn't easy. And so after 2.5 years of preparation, I was very glad that we could start with the circulation plan in April 2017, and that was a very strange period. The 3rd of April of 2017, we started. It was the first day of the Eastern holidays. We had chosen that day because we knew that at that moment the car traffic was not so intense at that day, and so we started. And I was a bit nervous about the start of the circulation plan, and I was there. I was at the town hall at 6 o'clock in the morning to see what should happen, of what would happen. We got all the data. We had projections about the traffic and so on. And at 7 o'clock I was there. At 8 o'clock I was there. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. It was almost a dull moment, because only at 10 to 9 something happened. We saw on the projection. We saw a little red arrow that meant that there was a little traffic jam on the ring road. So that day was very calm. And after I think at 11 o'clock in the morning, a journalist asked me if I wanted to make a ride by bike through the city, and I was a bit afraid of it, because I thought if I, after that period of rough debate, if I go in the city and I see people at this first day of the circulation plan, and somebody starts to yell at me, this is not very good and pleasant. This should not be very good or pleasant for me. And although I went with the journalist, I took a bike, and we ride it through the city. the road to the city, and so that was very strange. After 2.5 years of rough debates, death threats, police surveillance, at that moment I came out, and everybody I saw said, "Congratulations, we are so glad, thumbs up," and so on. And that was very, very strange. That's a lesson I learned, that the moment you are making proposals to do something about the car and the dominance of the car, there are many opponents. They are making lots of noise, but the people who are in favor are there too. Only they are mostly silent. And the support I never, no, not never, but I didn't feel the support. I didn't feel as fair as being very strong. The support was there, but I didn't knew it. And at that day changed for me everything, because I knew at that moment there was support. And as you see in the latest numbers, there is still support. 71% of the residents in the city who say it's more pleasant to live in the city. So that's a good result. So that's what I learned. That the people who are in favor are mostly silent, and it's very important that to realize that they are there. Okay, and then what are we doing now? So what we have done was very good for pedestrians, for cyclists, for public transport, for quality of life. The circulation plan was the first policy line, and we try to develop it further. So now we are busy with mobility plans for the outskirts. In fact, we have the area within the ring road. We are now busy with mobility plans for the neighborhoods around the ring road. Also, with the same way of thinking, we try to get rid of car traffic in the neighborhoods where people live. Very important. We do the same thing. It's different because we have in that neighborhoods, mostly we have no ring roads. Not mostly, we have no ring roads there. So we have to organize it on a different manner, but it's always the same. The streets where people live we have to get rid of the through traffic. So the mobility plans for the outskirts, first policy line. The second policy line, and it's also very important, I started with saying that the moment I was in Copenhagen or in Utrecht, I was almost paralyzed about when I saw the infrastructure of those cities. But and therefore we took another first policy line, but still infrastructure is important. So we had a circulation plan, but also we built cycling, pedestrian, walking and cycling bridges, walking and cycling underpasses, and so on. We realized we built cycle paths and so on. So infrastructure is very important. In fact, to reassure the results we had with the circulation plan, to have the results also now, but also in 5 years or in 10 years, we need also the infrastructure. Circulation plan and infrastructure are two policy lines who are very important. And the third policy line is cycling culture. We have I started an organization 5 years ago, the Fietsambassade Ghent. That's in English the cycling embassy Ghent. So, and the purpose of the cycling embassy is to better the cycling culture. And that's very important. You can have a good circulation plan, you can have a good infrastructure, but you have to show as a city government, you have to show that cyclists and pedestrians are important, that they are not anymore in the margin of the traffic at the side of the road, but that they are the most important road users in the city. That's what we try to do. And we try, in everything we do, we try to show that cyclists and pedestrians are important. I give a little example, and also very simple. Our cycling embassy has every 2 months makes an action, a grease and air action. What does that mean? They go to a route where there are many cyclists every day that passes by. They are there and they with grease and air, so they pull everyone's tire. Everyone who asks it, they pull up the tires and they clean up the chains and grease them. It's very simple. It doesn't cost a thing, but you show at that moment, you show that that cyclists are important. We also invest in public transport. Public transport is in Flanders. It's rather weak. It's not organized by the city, but still we spend about €3 million every year in public transport with some extras we are realizing. And then something very different. There you have the domain of mobility, but it's also important that there are other domains that are close by mobility that you have to do also. So, for example, we replace 15% of the paved roads with greenery and trees. Every year we do such things. Okay, then the challenges and the lessons learned. Participation is very, very important. But what is also important is that as a policy maker, as a deputy mayor, as a city government, it's very important that you know what you are doing. What is the result you want to have, and the moment you go to the residents and talk with them, it's very important that you listen to them, that you try to get things better of your plans, but never forget what you try to do. I think many politicians, the moment they are in the confrontation with people, forget why they are there. The biggest mistake we made is that our circulation plan was just about mobility, and that's a mistake. It's not just about mobility. It should also have been an economic plan, a cultural plan, a social plan. That's our circulation plan was pure mobility. It's a bit because colleagues of mine were a bit afraid of what I was doing with the circulation plan, and it could have been a disaster. It could have been the end of my political career, and they kept a bit of distance to what I was doing because of the risks that there were. But that's not good. If a city wants to have a circulation plan, a Ghent style circulation plan, they should embrace it, and they should, on all domains and with all forces, they should embrace it and go for it. Okay, and then communication, you can't communicate enough. So also to invest much things in much budget and means in communication. Fourth lesson, implement fast. Some cities try to implement such things as a circulation plan in several steps, but I think it's important that you implement it fast. So at that moment, you can make that the period of adaptation and adjustment, that it keeps it's kept short, and that's important for people. Not 10 times adapt to what is happening, but one time seriously, and then also evaluate and adjust if there are things that are wrong, and that's normal. That there are some things are not good. That's normal. So evaluate and adjust. That's what we do. And the last image. This is the same spot in Ghent, in the center of Ghent. At the left, you see what it was, a parking spot. At the right, you see what it is now. It's a very popular place now. And so the question is, do you think it was worth it? I think it was.
That's amazing. That last picture says so much. Thank you so much, Filip. We're going to have lots and lots of questions, so I hope you're ready. And I'm going to kick off from the very beginning. Can we talk about the political landscape? Now, Cambridge is very, very complicated with our political landscape, and it would probably take this whole meeting to explain it. But we have some questions about, what is the political structure that you had to operate within? Is the city council the strategic transport authority, or how many layers of government are there that you need to influence and get things to happen? And what was your role as deputy mayor within that structure? What responsibilities did you have?
Most of the things we could decide ourselves with the city government and the town council. So the city government and I as a deputy mayor plans the circulation plan, did the preparation, decided about what should happen, and the town council also discussed about it and agreed with what we were doing or not. So I think it was rather easy, in that the structure was rather simple. We had collaboration of also some parts of the Flemish administration, Flemish government. For example, the ring road I talked about is the ownership is the Flemish region owns the ring road, not the other streets, not the area within, but the ring road is from the Flemish region, and they also collaborated with us to adapt some things at the ring road. So we had a good collaboration. And also the public transport is organized by the Flemish government. The lane is the mobility enterprise of the Flemish region. And also with them we collaborated good and so. But it was rather simple. We decided ourselves.
Well, we can only dream. We can only dream. We have so many layers of government to deal with. I want to go back even to before that stage and getting elected. How open were you about your aspirations for a plan like this during the election cycle? And I say this because we have elections in 2 days, and we're hoping some councillors or hopeful councillors are watching. So
in 2 days
to them in 2 days. So how bold could you be leading up to the election?
I think you should be bold. I think with what I know now, I think people like that politicians are clear about what they want. Is it right? Clear? Yeah. That people want in my opinion, people want politicians who know what they want, who present what they want, and go for it. I'm an urban planner, and in '95, but it's more a coincidence than it was planned. In '95, I made my how do you call it? My master thesis, and I made it about sustainable mobility in Ghent, and in that work I made, I talked already about the circulation plan. Yeah? I was forgotten at the moment I began with the circulation plan, but in the election of 2012, and after the elections, I became a deputy mayor. We already talked about to do something about through traffic. So everyone knew that we should do something about it, that we would do something about it. Only the circulation plan itself as a project was not in our in what we talked before the elections, because we didn't know it ourselves that we would make a circulation plan, that we would implement a circulation plan. But the moment everyone knew that we should, we already also we said that we would do something about the dominance of the car, and that we would make space for cyclists and pedestrians. That was very clear. So, and look, I was always very bold about what I was doing, and I got rewarded, because in 2012 I had about 3,600, 3,700 votes. In 2018, after the circulation plan, with all that rough debate, I had 13,000 votes. Everyone thought it could have been a disaster. It could have been the end of my political career. But the truth is that I got rewarded, and I really think that politicians should be clear about what they want to do. People like politicians that know what they want.
Very good.
I hope.
And so to those watching, if you want to know what our local politicians think, I must plug our election survey, where we've asked our local candidates what they think about transport issues. And I hope to see that some of them are as bold as you have been. Right, on to so many questions. So here we go. A question from Anna. She would like to know how you measured the difference between through traffic and destination traffic. Did you have to use cameras? How could you tell which cars were going through? We
had to use cameras, and also people who noted number plates and so on, but mostly cameras. Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. And then a question very relevant, I imagine, to Cambridge. But also this is from someone in Huntingdon, further out. How well do cyclists and pedestrians mix in shared use areas in the city centre? Is there conflict between people walking and cycling? And also, I'd say, with trams and public transport, how do you fit all these users?
What I see is that after we made space for pedestrians and cyclists, we got a bit a new conflict, a conflict between cyclists and pedestrians. But I think that conflict is not so strong as the conflict between cars and cyclists and cars and pedestrians. Because if I look at the accidents, a decrease of 35%. But what is important is that you should always start to plan starting from the idea of quality. If there are so many cyclists that it becomes annoying for for pedestrians, then that means that there's not enough quality for pedestrians. And at a certain point, it's important to give also priority to pedestrians. It's not only cyclists. Also, cyclists can be disturbing for pedestrians. And so at that moment, the first group we have to look at are the pedestrians. At some places, we have also in Ghent, in the center, we have some streets where only between 11 in the morning and 6 in the evening, only pedestrians can come. And cyclists, if they are in that street, they should stop with cycling. So, but it's always starting from the idea of who want from which group we want to give quality. We want to ensure quality. I hope I'm clear because I make some mistakes in English, but I'm sorry.
No, perfectly clear.
And then for the trams, that's the problem in Ghent. That's really a problem. We have trams in the center of the city, and it even for experienced cyclists, it can be difficult. And but we need also that trams, because trams are very good for public transport and better than buses. Yeah, that's a difficult one.
And quite narrow streets for those trams as well.
Yeah.
To mix. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm interested, when you had those moments where you have changed and said, well, we now have so many people cycling, there's not enough room, we're stopping cycling on this street. But how do you ensure the people who are cycling can get where they need to go? Is it about ensuring that there is still quality for cycling, but on the other routes, so then less, I guess, to incentivize them to not take the shortcut through the pedestrian?
Yes, but we are building, we are still building our networks. Pedestrians, cyclists should always have a road that they can take to reach their destination, and so we are building networks, and sometimes most of the time the networks for pedestrians and those for the cyclists are the same roads, but sometimes you have to divide it, and sometimes it's alone for cyclists and sometimes alone for pedestrians.
Yeah, and that's a challenge that Cambridge will be facing, I don't doubt for a minute. Excellent. So we've had a question about public transport, bus companies, trams, privatized or public? How much control do you have over public?
All public, Flemish government. We have we pay and organize ourselves some things. For example, we have for the circulation plan, we built some park and rides outside of the ring road, and we paid ourselves the shuttles to the center. We pay them ourselves, not the Flemish government.
Yeah, excellent. And could that be something that the government would provide, or it's out of their scope, so it's up to you to do it?
Yeah, it's a pity that it's out of their scope. Yeah, but I think that they should do it.
do the passengers pay?
It would be good for our budget.
Yeah. Do the passengers pay for their tickets, or is it free for passengers?
No, it's free. It's free.
It's free. Yeah. So we have that problem here, where if you have too many people using the park and ride, it's still cheaper to drive, because they have to pay for tickets. So that's interesting.
They have to pay for tickets for the shuttle.
Yes. Yes.
A park and ride, the park and ride, and the sum of the park and ride and the shuttle should always be cheaper than what you pay in a parking garage in the center. Yeah,
absolutely. And for a family, not an individual, but for a family.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, right. So there are a few questions about the ring road. So could this scheme, Alan asks, could this scheme have been enacted without your ring road, your R40?
Yeah.
And has traffic increased on R40 as a result of the scheme? That's the first part of the question. And then
Yeah.
another person has sort of is talking about Cambridge related to that, saying we don't have a straightforward ring road in Cambridge. We've sort of got missing sections. So is there a way of creating this kind of scheme without the ring road?
Yes, but the ring road makes it easier. But in fact, what we are doing now in the neighborhoods around the center is also mobility plans without ring road. There are always some big roads and that cars use, but in fact, you don't need a ring road to do what we have done. Only it's more complex because people who the connection between 2 points that are more with a bit more distance, yeah, it should be possible, still possible with a car, but not through neighborhoods where people live. But it's possible. We have done it in the neighborhoods around the center, and then it's it needs we need a bit of creativity at that moment, but it's possible. Yeah.
Have you seen traffic increase on the ring road?
Yeah, after the circulation ban, we saw an increase of traffic from about 10%.
Okay.
After some years, it was back to normal.
Okay.
So we had only in the first years we had an increase. Now it's back to normal because, and that's so important because many people, many politicians look at mobility as a closed system. If you have, for example, 10,000 cars, if you change something, they think, oh, those 10,000 cars, where are they now driving? But what they forget is that there's something like evaporating traffic. All those people who shifted from the car to cycling, yeah, that's very important. That's at that moment, if we go from a share of 22% to a share of 35%, that means that thousands and thousands of cars are not used anymore. So that's what you can't forget. They may not forget, and that's so important. And what I see now is that the share of cycling is still increasing, a bit slower than the year after the circulation plan, but it's still increasing because people see that other people cycle, and why shouldn't they cycle themselves? It's all the most difficult thing about getting an increase for cycling is the first first percents of cycling. If you have a share of 2% of cycling, to get from 2% to 5%, that's difficult. But to get from 25% to 35%, that's easy, because people see other people cycle and people copy the behavior of other people. That's how people are. Yep. I copied also what we did in Ghent. Nowadays they always talk about the Ghent style circulation plan, but we copied it also. We copied it from Groningen, and Groningen did it in the 70s of the former century. That's amazing. In the 70s already they did it in Groningen. We copied it in Ghent, and so we are very good copiers.
Hopefully it won't take us so many decades to do our version, and then it can be the Cambridge circulation plan.
In 2 days in Cambridge, everything will change.
Just a few years to plan it. Then the questions are about the reaction. So we have quite a bit of talk about just one road in Cambridge where there's a plan to filter it, and there's been quite divisive emotions. In your view, can you work on one road when you do need to still do the whole city, but is it worth trying one road to get things going?
Yes and no. No, because what I said about the permanent adaptation for people is difficult. If you try to get something done in 100 steps, and every time is an adaptation, that's very difficult. I say yes because sometimes it can be very interesting to change a thing and to show to people, look, if we change this one road, you can see what is happening in this road. For example, a very important project I had in 2013 was what we call the living streets. And the living streets are streets we give to the residents. The residents can design it as they wish. One condition, car-free. But for the rest, they can do what they want. And they can do it for 2 months. And what is very important is not that they can do it themselves, but the 2 months are very important, because the moment people do such a thing, there are opponents and there are people in favor. The opponents in a street, they say, okay, I'm against it, but it's only for 2 months, so go ahead. And when it starts and they see in those 2 months what is happening to their streets in 2 months, some of them start to think, oh, I was against it, but I like it what is happening here. This car-free, and I see my neighbors on the street, and we can talk, and we can sit down in the middle of the street and we can drink something. That's interesting. So temporary measures can be very interesting to get people to change the mindset of people on mobility and so on. So I say yes and no. Yeah, no, with too many adaptations, yes, to convince people.
Yeah, understand. You talk about the reaction of individuals. What about business owners, particularly those who might not even live in the area but have their business there? How have they reacted before and after?
It's very normal that shop owners and so on were very concerned about what would happen. That's normal because it's their income, and it's important to take them seriously. But what I always try to explain was that the world has changed, because when I was a little kid in a small village far away from Ghent, people went to the city because if you went to the city, and they wanted to buy something, there was a choice. Yeah? There were different shops and so on, and in the shops there are different marks and so on. And therefore you went to the city because there was more supply. Yeah. But the world has changed, because everyone here who is looking has a laptop and can buy everything he wants just by sitting down at his table and to use his laptop. E-commerce. So cities that want to have also a strong economy, a real center economy, they should also invest in the experience of the city. To walk around, to stroll around in the city, to look at the buildings, to look at people, to drink something, to eat something, to look at the shops, the experience of walking and strolling around in the city. And what we have done for the quality of life is also good for the experience of visitors to the city. It's pleasant to be in a city that is car-free or car restricted. It's pleasant to walk around there. And so that's also very important. So that was also always what I tried to tell to the shop owners, but they were concerned. Still, their concerns never went away. But what we see is that Ghent is doing well economically. If I look to the vacancy of shops, we are doing better than most of the cities in Flanders. And it's not that we after the circulation plan we had a disaster and a huge vacancy. No, it's not like that. What is important is that there was a transformation, and an important transformation. The shops that were very focused on, that were already 20, 30, 40 years old, with clients who are a bit older, and who came to the city with the car every time, every time the same roads they used. Such shops, for them it was difficult. But what you see is that other shops come with the younger public, and they are doing fine. So, but the transformation is, yeah, it's how do you call it? Inevitable. The transformation is just becomes automatically.
Yeah, it would happen anyway.
Yeah, it happens anyway.
Yeah. Right. Now, I know that you have to go very soon and we have no chance of getting through all the questions. So perhaps we'll try some quick fire questions to get through. How much support did you have before the scheme was in place? From your consultations, did you have a clear percentage?
What do you mean?
Did you ask the public before you put the circulation plan in, do you support this? And what was the percent?
No, we didn't ask.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And yeah, but we were convinced that most of the public should support us, and we knew that the circulation plan would be good for the city and for the residents. Yeah, and that at that moment we had to take a risk. I think that too many politicians and political parties are looking too much to polls, and I'm convinced that political parties should know what they want, present it to the people, and to be elected or not to be elected, but not always looking at the polls. It's a waste of time.
I hope some councillors are watching. Do you have any exemptions for people with disabilities? We hear they're called blue badges. So can they get through some of these filters?
Yeah, they can get permits to get to the car restricted zones.
Okay.
So
how do you manage that? Is it with cameras?
Yeah, it's with cameras, number plate recognition, and so on. And if they have a permit, they are on the white list, and they can pass.
Yeah.
That's also very important, that the circulation plan is important, and that people that the quality of the car restricted zone is very important. Not too many cars and so on. But if people need a car, it should be possible. There's nothing wrong with people who need a car. Only there's something wrong with too many cars. And that's what we try to do. In most of the streets, you can almost every street you can get there by car. Only in the car restricted zone there's the need of permits, but you can get everywhere with a car. Sometimes with another route, and sometimes a bit more distance to ride. But you can get everywhere, and that's important.
Definitely. Okay, well, I know you need to go, so I'm thinking of that there are two last questions. Let's see if we can get them through. How on earth did you get all of that done in one weekend? And secondly, what could we do to help our politicians feel more supported? You said you didn't know how much support there was. Would it have helped you to know that support was there? And that would be our role, to try and show that support. So that's the two final questions for you.
Yeah. The first question is how to do it in one weekend, because it was a very easy plan. The moment it was prepared, and after 2.5 years, it was very easy. We didn't have complex systems or difficult systems. It was only to put a sign that the car couldn't pass anymore. That's all. So there was a lot of preparation for our administration, but everything was ready. And at that moment, they started and to change every traffic sign and so on. But that's not really complex. Yeah? So it is possible. And then, but they worked. Yeah, that weekend was crazy for those people. For the workers, they worked from Friday evening. They had a working week, and then they started a second working weekend from the Friday evening all night long, Saturday night all night long, Sunday till Monday morning. So it was crazy. And then about the support, I think it's very important that if I should restart, I should talk more to the organizations that are in favor. The cycling, I don't know how you call it in England, but our cycling union, the people from the people who are busy with nature and climate and so on, all those organizations, I didn't appeal them enough. I should have appealed them. Come and show that you are in favor. And I think at that moment I was purely a deputy mayor with its administration, but I should have built a second kind of another organization that was politically campaigning, and that I didn't do enough because I didn't have the time, but I should have done it.
It's always easy to look back and say, here's what I should have done, but at least we can learn and we can play that role should we have someone willing to take the leadership to bring such a plan to Cambridge.
I'm sure in 2 days you will have such leaders.
I hope so. I honestly, we could talk to you for hours more, but I know you have to go. So I'd just like to say a huge thank you for spending this time with Camcycle and answering our questions and hopefully inspiring our future politicians. And we wish you all the best for your follow-up mobility and social and cultural plans.
Okay, it was my pleasure. I should say visit Ghent, and I will visit Cambridge. Okay.
Absolutely. We will make it happen.
Okay, bye.
Wonderful. Thanks, Philip. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. Oh, so much to process. That was excellent. But now to some of the updates for Cambridge and Camcycle. And I shall hand over to you, Anna, to let our members and followers know what we've been up to.
Great, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I'm so inspired by all that. I'm going to have to rewatch that again and take notes, and just because that was absolutely amazing. So thank you again so much to Philip. And I'm just going to keep this campaigning update short because I'm sure everybody else's brains are just whizzing with ideas after that meeting. But there's just a quick update on some of the things that have been happening in Camcycle in the last couple of weeks. So firstly, yesterday, the Reach Ride. Thank you so much, everybody that came. It was really brilliant. As Roxanne said earlier, the weather was absolutely perfect for riding. We saw loads of familiar faces, loads of new people. There were lots of families, lots, particularly sort of noticed an taking kind of cargo bikes and triplets and tandems and kind of different ways of carrying children on bikes. We had 6 penny farthings as well there, which was just always really wonderful to see them cycling along. So yeah, really wonderful day. Thank you everybody, and thank you especially to all the volunteers that made it possible, and our staff team, and also our sponsors, Continental Tires and Cambridge City Council. And it was brilliant, and let's do it all again next year. So hopefully on the 1st of May 2023 we'll be back again. And if you'd like to get involved, or if you are part of an organisation and you're interested in sponsoring the ride, it's never too early to get in touch, and let's chat. Then just a few days earlier, and this seems, so much has happened in the last few days, this seems kind of a week ago, but this is only on Friday. So last week we took part again in the Big Give Green Match Fund. So it was really brilliant that we were selected again, one of 146 environmental charities across the UK, and there was a few other Cambridge ones as well. And so we were raising money for our Zero Carbon Streets campaign, so that Josh and the rest of our team can really enable more local groups and communities to work for walking and cycling changes where they live, and to really create the sustainable and thriving streets of the future, and together also help Cambridge to reduce its carbon footprint from transport. So yeah, it's a big fundraising campaign, and you absolutely smashed it, our wonderful supporters. This was a new Big Give fundraising record for us, and we're just so pleased and humbled. Thank you so much for your support. This means so much, and every penny of this is going to have a brilliant impact on our campaigning, on our work across the county. And if you are involved in a local group that we don't know about or we haven't worked with before, again, like, get in touch, share your ideas and tell us what advice we could maybe help you with. Yeah, because we really want to work with more groups, sort of, and together have this stronger voice as well when we're lobbying at a regional level. Then next, as we've already mentioned, we have elections in 2 days, and our annual Camcycle election survey is back again. So please do go to camcycle.org.uk/elections. We have election surveys for Cambridge City Council, Peterborough City Council, that's a new one for this year, South Cambridge District Council and Huntingdonshire District Council. So do go to our election website, have a little look what the candidates near you are saying about cycling and transport related issues, and use it to inform your vote on Thursday, or your postal vote if you're popping it in the post the next day. And yeah, so we hope this is something that we do every year. It's not just about informing residents sort of when they vote, but it's also to just generally raise awareness. We're seeing a lot of good new kind of interaction for these new areas, so it's really good to kind of get these candidates talking about cycling issues. So yeah, thank you to all the groups that have helped us get this out there, and to also compose the questions, and particularly this year to Peterborough Cycle Forum, who have worked with us for the first time. Next, if you are excited by what Camcycle is doing and you want to be part of our team, or you know somebody who does, please apply now for our Camcycle Summer Internship. We're really delighted to have this open again, with the support of some of our partners, and this is a paid internship. The start and end date are fairly flexible, but expected to be about 8 weeks long, but we really want to make this open to as many candidates as possible, different ages, backgrounds, and you know, so if you apply, yeah, if you're interested in it, do apply, and we can kind of see how we can work around, for example, part-time hours or different timescales. Please do apply, and you can find out a bit more on our website at camcycle.org.uk/internship, and you can see the job description there, and there's an application form. And I've just realised I haven't put the deadline on there. I think it's something like the 23rd of May.
16th of May.
16th of May. Thanks, Roxanne. So you've only got a couple of weeks. So yeah, get applying and spreading the word, telling people about our internship. And I haven't got too much in the way of our campaigning things. It's a little bit of a quiet period at the moment around the elections, but there are going to be some big things coming up soon in terms of the GCP, so the Greater Cambridge Partnership. There will be a consultation coming up soon on congestion charging or buses or kind of new hierarchy of roads, possibly circulation plans, sort of things like that about traffic reduction and improving sustainable transport. So that should be coming up later in the summer. There'll also be a draft transport plan from the Mayor's Office, the combined authority, for Cambridge and Peterborough, and there'll be sort of feedback as well on the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan from the county council. So there will be lots happening, but that will be after the sort of new councillors are elected. So that will be coming up later in the summer. But in the meantime, I did think it was worth just raising this one, which is a Netherhall Farm planning application. So there was a meeting last week on this. The developers, so just to give a bit of backstory, so we have been campaigning with some of the other sort of local residents and councillors in the area for a better link for people walking and cycling from this new development into the nearby Queen Edith area, to the schools, to the shops, etc. Because otherwise this is going to be a development that locks in car dependency. People are going to have to go all the long way round, you know, school children, older people, and it's just going to be easier to drive. So we've been campaigning for a better link here, and the developers, the last meeting, they were sort of sent back to go and investigate what options there were for a link. They have said they've done this, and they want to discharge the condition that said they had to investigate that. And at the last meeting last week, the planning committee, they want to defer it. But I think really there's kind of just problems here with our planning system, with our local plan, with the way the conditions are written. And so I've just put a quote here from one of the councillors who said, you know, I don't feel the condition has been met, but why do we have a condition that can't be enforced? So I think, you know, we're kind of a bit stuck with this one, even if the developer kind of proves they've investigated, and they've done everything they possibly can to look into this link. They don't even have to provide it. You know, they just have to prove they've investigated it. So this really is a problem that, you know, we need to learn from this so that this doesn't happen in other developments. And I think still kind of push for this link, because these poor people that move into this development are just not going to have a safe and convenient route to the shops and schools. Other than that, that is the end. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you again to Philip. That was an absolutely amazing presentation. Thank you to Roxanne for hosting. So thank you, and we'll see you next month. Bye.